Yo, yo, yo. Good morning. I hope we're doing well. Um, there's something I'd like to share with you today. I found myself sharing it about 2 times recently with some people, and I realized I was like, hey. Why not just put it out there? And it concerns money, or money as we know it. I picked this most of what I'll be sharing up from a session I sat in a couple of years back in Chingola. A friend of mine tagged me along for something, and it blessed my life, and I figured I would encourage somebody out there. So here goes. What is money? So what if I told you that this is not money? What if I told you that this that says 50 kwacha is actually not 50 kwacha? And some of you are wondering, and if you took a note out wherever it is that you are, there's these interesting words that are written on this note that we call money. It says, I promise to pay the bearer on demand for the Bank of Zambia. So it's making a promise to pay the bearer of this on demand for the Bank of Zambia. Now, if this is, or if this was money, why is it still making a promise to make payment? Let me leave you there for a while, and let's talk about the history of money. Back in the day, there's a thing they used to call barter exchange. And the way barter exchange worked is that you would come with your maize, I would come with my groundnuts maybe, and voila, we exchange, yeah? And that's how it worked. So people would exchange goods for goods, people would exchange goods for services. Then as time went on, what began to happen is people began to find things that could signify value. So what they would do is, maybe there was time they would use things like shells, yeah? And they would use shells, and a certain number of shells equals maybe a bag of maize, or a certain number of shells equals maybe groundnuts, a sack of groundnuts or whatever, okay? We moved from there. We moved to a place where it was about silver. So people would make articles of silver, and silver became the means of exchange. And we moved, and we finally got to the gold era. Now, in the gold era, gold seemed to be the most valuable metal that existed. But the thing with gold is, gold was heavy. It was not as easy as silver to carry around. It was not as easy as shells to carry around. It was not as easy as just the exchange that used to take place. So we got to a place where there was this guy. Let's call him a guy, yes? There was a guy called the goldsmith. And what this guy could do is he could turn your different articles of gold into anything. And he had a vote of some sort, yeah? Let's picture it that way. He had a vote of some sort. And he began to negotiate with his community and say, listen, y'all, you can't go around carrying all this gold that you have. So do this. Bring your gold. I'll keep it for you in my vote, and I will give you a receipt of the value of the gold that you have had kept with me. So people would bring their gold. He would write a receipt, and on the receipt he would write the value of the gold in whatever currency, or in whatever value system, with whatever value system he used. But on that receipt he would write something like, let's read it again. I promise to pay the bearer of this receipt on demand for, maybe there he would put for Jotham Mwale, or for, my good sir Mangaliso is watching, for Mangaliso Chehana, okay? So that receipt became an expression or a proof of the value of gold that was in the vote of the goldsmith. Do you get? Now, even today, when you really look at it, the value of money is not in this knot that I'm holding. You will agree with me today what this note can do and the value it seemingly has can change, and it can later begin to hold very little value. The number of things 50 kwacha used to get for us back in the day, you know, the number of things that 50 kwacha used to get for us back in the day compared to what it gets for us now, you'd find that it's almost as if this thing is no longer as valuable as it used to be, but it's still the same 50 kwacha. Therefore, this is not money. This is reflective of what money is. What is money? Money is reflected truly by the amount of value, in the sense of the example I've been giving, that you have in the vote with the goldsmith. Are you understanding? Money is reflected by the amount of reserves today that a country, for instance, has. Therefore, today, based on the amount of reserves we have in the Zambian government, or in whichever government that you represent of whichever country you are in, the value of a note will change with things like inflation, with things like reserves in the background. So this only makes a promise to pay the bearer of this on demand, but only reflective of the value that sits at the back of this. Are we following? Therefore, you find a lot of people chasing this. You find a lot of people chasing paper. You find a lot of people wanting to make this. But a lot of people are not willing to invest in their own value. I am in Matthew 25, verse 14, I believe, and it's the parable of the talents. And he says he gave them each according to their own capacity. So he gave 1, he gave 2, and he gave 5. This is a master that was going away on a long journey. He gave them according to their own capacity. I want to link capacity to value. My friend, my brother, my sister, if you do not build your own value to a level that it begins to attract this to your life, there is no way that this will come and sit in your life or in a life that has no value. So, simple example. For instance, you plait hair, my sister. Build your value. Go on YouTube, find tutorials about how to become a better hair person. Begin to teach someone else, so that as you teach someone else, you perfect your skill. Begin to go to other people that seem to know more than you, learn a bit of this and that. Build your value. Because what will happen is these guys, these things that we look at as money, have a funny way of looking for where the value exists and going to attach themselves to that place of value. If right now 50 million came your way, let's say kwacha, because we're in kwacha land here. If 50 million kwacha or even $50 million came your way, and you as a person do not carry that level of value or that level of capacity in you, the 50 million will come and it will go. Because you have not built your value. You have not built your capacity. And we live in a world today where people keep chasing this, but people are not willing to build their own value. Yeah? Following? I hope you are. What am I saying when all is said and done? Build your value. Continue to invest in yourself. Go to school. Learn something new. It's not always through the traditional methods of school, but go to school, learn something new, and you'll discover that these issues of money or whatever it is, value, money value, worth for your value, will begin to attach itself to you because of the value you built. If you do not build value in yourself, you will continue to chase this all your life. It will come and it will go. It will have nowhere to sit. It will have nowhere to stay, because the concentration was not on building your value, but on getting this because you thought this was valuable. This is only as valuable as you are. This only makes sense and begins to hold a certain level of relevance when there's a sense or there's a level of value and capacity in your individual life. So this is not money. This is representative of what money truly is. Because like I said, it says, I promise to pay the bearer on demand for the Bank of Zambia. It would not be making a promise to make payment if it was money. It would just pay. It's promising to make payment because it is believing there is something that sits behind this, and whoever represents this will access the value that is seated behind this. I hope you're following. And therefore, if you do not build a value for your life or a sense of value for your career, your ministry, your talents, your gifting, whatever it is, if you do not invest in yourself, it will be promising to pay the bearer of this on demand, hoping to find value, but when it does not find that value, it will stop coming. When it does not find that value, it will not find anywhere to rest. Following? I hope it's made sense. I'm praying no one has walked away confused, but the moral of the story is build value. I go back to the parable of the talents as I close this thing. And he gave them according to their own capacity. We receive according to our capacity. If we can build our capacity, we will build our base or our reservoir in or through which to receive. Yeah? And look at what happened in the parable of the talents. Because they had such capacity already, when they received, they multiplied. When you're a person that builds value and capacity in your life, and you receive such things, what begins to happen is you find a way to multiply them. You find a way to grow what you receive, to invest it in something, as opposed it's just coming and going. It's just coming and being buried. Being buried is symbolic of it being used aimlessly, for instance. It's not being invested because there's no value, because there's no capacity in the person that has received it. What's your value? What's your capacity? This year, 2019, get you some value, get you some capacity. Yeah? What is money? Money is value. Money is you right now, depending on how much value you hold. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed week. I love you. God loves you more. Cheers.